Front with us now, Congressman Adam Smith. He is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thanks for being here. You just heard from our correspondent in Moscow. The Russians, they aren't completely focused on a ceasefire. They're talking about the potential of resetting U.S.-Russia relations, the potential of economic and arms deals with the United States. What does that tell you?
Well, what Putin wants is he wants to be able to continue to pursue his objectives in Ukraine, which is basically to take over Ukraine one way or the other while continuing to build a better relationship with the U.S. That's what he's going to try to do. Now, obviously, that's directly contrary to our interests and European interests and certainly Ukrainian interests. And that's the test for President Trump. Will he be able to stand up to this charm offensive that Putin's trying to put forward as he's basically trying to con Trump into letting him have Ukraine? That's where we're at, which is why it's so important for President Trump to push back hard against that and say, you want a better relationship? I'm fine with it, but you got to stop the war in Ukraine, and Ukraine has to be a sovereign democratic country when that is done.
I mean, Trump going in is projecting optimism heading into this, but I mean, he has been all over the place in terms of what he's at least publicly stating are the goals and expectations here. I mean, you remember we talked about this earlier, that first this was a meeting that was a listening only exercise. Then Trump threatened these severe consequences if Putin didn't agree to stop the war. And today he's moving past this first meeting already and looking to the second. Listen to this.
The more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not.
What do you think of his assessment going in and what it does?
I think President Trump has long believed that there's nobody that he can't win a discussion with. I mean, remember, this is what he did with Kim Jong-un during his first term. I forget the phrase he used, but they exchanged letters and they were very fond of each other. And he was convinced that he could just sit down with Kim Jong-un and everything would be solved. That's not the way the world works, but it's pretty much a straightforward theme. President Trump, remember, he was going to end the war with Ukraine in a day. He was going to solve the Mideast peace process. It's part of Trump's sort of bluster to say, I'll show up, everything will be fixed. But now, 7-8 months into this term, he's also got to confront reality, which is that it hasn't been fixed. So he still has that bluster of, I'll charm him, everything will be fine. And then he's throwing out the caveats because of what he's learned in the last 6 or 7 months, that doesn't always work. So it's a bit of a confused, mixed message. I don't think he knows for sure exactly what he could get out of this meeting.
Trump and Putin are planning to hold a joint press conference after they sit down and meet. The president has added a little bit of a caveat around it, but they said they've agreed to a joint press conference, which is what happened after the summit in Helsinki in 2018, and that ended up being a cloud to hang over the first Trump administration when he sided with Putin over U.S. intelligence. Do you think another joint press conference is a good idea?
No, I think it is incredibly dangerous, and I think it shows a level of support for Putin that Putin has not earned at this point. I don't know. I mean, look, if the joint press conference is to come out and announce a ceasefire, maybe, but that seems highly unlikely. So if he does a joint press conference after this, he is elevating Putin's status and stature in this whole conversation and just empowering Putin to continue his war. I think Putin is going to have to make some concessions before you give him that level of legitimacy. So I hope they don't follow through with that.
Russia is making strong gains on the ground in Ukraine still. Knowing that as a reality and knowing Putin, do you really think there is any chance that he backs down here?
Well, I think there is a distinct chance because those advances that Russia is making, it's been very slow over a very long period of time and at a high cost. If that cost continues to be high, if the U.S. gets back to being a full-throated supporter of the 53-nation coalition backing Ukraine, and Putin continues to be blunted in what he's trying to do in the East, then Putin has to recalculate. But a lot of what President Trump did and J.D. Vance and others in their first 6 months in office undermined that unity and that support. Remember, on a couple of occasions, we actually briefly cut off support for Ukraine that only empowered Putin. So no, I am not of the opinion that Russian success is inevitable. People have been saying that since the war started, and they continually run headlong into Ukrainian resistance. They have taken on an appalling level of casualties, Russia has. It is weakening. If we stand strong, I do absolutely believe that Putin can be convinced that he can't win this militarily. So then he has to negotiate. But to do that, President Trump has to offer up stronger resistance, and he has to actually put some punishment on Putin for continuing this war. That's the opportunity that he has tomorrow. And we'll see if he does it.
Yep, it will be critical to see what Donald Trump says as they leave that meeting. It's very good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in, Congressman.